Hey everyone, I'm Jeffrey Whetstone, and this is my final CIT260 presentation. For this video today, I'm going to be talking about a couple things. I'm going to be talking about static and non-static variables, some lists, arrays, array lists, and enum list. Also, I'm going to be demonstrating through some examples of code that I've written some different aspects of code that we've learned throughout the semester. And I'll also be talking about character stream classes, input and output, and then also how to write the character data to an external file. So to start, I'm going to share my screen, my NetBeans, and I'm going to talk about static and non-static variables. So a static variable is associated with a class, and it only has one copy per class, but not for each object. An instance of a class does not have static variables. So a static variable is, for example, public static void save game. So this variable is static. In saying that, the static, it doesn't have it's only that class is associated. Only one copy of that class is associated with the class, but not for each object. So the static classes also can only be accessed by static or instance methods. So non-static variables such as let's see if main menu 9. So this, for example, this is not a static variable. It's a non-static variable. So non-static variables will only have one copy per object. Each instance of a class will have one copy of non-static variables. So they are they're opposite. They're pretty different, but you have to make sure that you're calling the correct variable, and that you can't call a static variable from a non-static instance. And so that's one thing you have to be careful about. Let's see. Oh, and then so on this one, so game control, the static variable save game, in the game menu, we're calling the save game variable, or the function, so that it'll run when this. We're calling this variable so that the function will run when it's called in this function. And then the non-static variables work the same way in that case. So the next item is the array lists, the arrays and enum list. So just a basic understanding of what they are. An array is used to model a fixed length of objects. So you have a certain number of objects, and then they all are assigned with primitive values such as integers, float, Boolean, or other characters, and they can be changed during execution. That is in ship control, line 22. So let's see. Oh yeah. So this is an array. It's not the best array. Normally you'd have a you'd have a number with, you'd have something like this. So that would assign it as an array. But in our game, we didn't really have any arrays that you'll normally see. And then we have a array list. So an array list is a variable length list that may contain different types of objects. Objects of any type can be dynamically added and removed from the list at any time. So the example for that one is in location 51. So here we have an array list. So so we're creating the array list here, and then in this function we're adding each of these items into the list. And then I'll talk about it a little bit later, but then we're inputting a new function, and then we're running a for loop so that it can randomly select one of these items that you'll find as you go exploring the location you're at. An enum, so that's another example. An enum is a special type of list that has a fixed length where all the objects in the list are the same type, but unlike an array, the objects or values in the list constant can never be changed. So in this one, we have an example here so this is an enum list, public enum character list. So we're declaring the class instance variables. So we have different character names, and then we have a description that goes along with the name. This is a public enum list, and then you can call them here. As you write a code or a function, you can call assign the characters in an enum list to do certain things, to be certain places in the game. So that's the enum. The best way to decide how or when to use each of the three different lists would be depending upon whether they fit the criteria of the list or array. So you want to make sure that if you're having a fixed length or fixed list length, then you want to be able to change them when you execute it, then you would want to simply do an array. You want to assign an array to have a certain number of objects, and then use that. But if you want to have different types of objects, like this example in Explore Location that I showed, then so this you can add and take away as you go. If that's something that you need or that you're trying to implement, then array list would be the best. And then an enum is if you need a fixed list but the objects are the same, and then you never want those objects to be changed, then you would use an enum list. So that's that topic. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is a basic understanding of using a for loop or a for statement and an index to go through and then access those different items stored in an array or in a list. So I'm going to use this example. So here we have an explore function that we're using. So we're creating an array list. Then here we're adding items to each of the lists. So we're adding a citizen, a Sith, a moisture farmer, a trader, and a cantina barman. So these are all items that we're assigning and inserting into the list. Then it'll save it in the memory. And then we're creating a new explore location function. And then, so we're going to use a for loop to randomly select one of these items. And so we have integer I equals 0, and then I is less than 1, and then I plus plus. So that's going to go through the loop and then just pick one at random and then assign it to print on the console. So then it'll print and then it'll display one of these items at random. And then it also uses this this function. So that's using a for statement to, in this case, randomly select one of those items and then pull it. Also, if I wanted to, I could create a for loop, and then instead of having it do a random list, which is this, then I could ask it to select a specific item in the array, and it would be 0 through however many items in the array that you have, and then it would select that item. That's another way that you can use the for statement to go through and access the elements in the array. I will, let's see, I'll demonstrate how that works. So I'm going to run the game and then do a new game and then explore current place. So here we have the menu of explore location, and then we're going to press 1 to continue. Let's see. And so we found 2 crystal. Oh, that's okay. Here, it was find someone to talk to. The example I was showing. Okay, so we're going to find. We found. So this is object 2 in the array list. This was entered in as the second item, and then so it says moisture farmer. We don't see our kind around here too often, Master Jedi. And then after displaying that, then it goes back to the menu. That's the part that we can add things in to make the game a little more complex, so that there's interaction with the moisture farmer. You can have a conversation, things like that. So that's how that for statement works. All right. So the next item is how to throw, propagate, and catch custom runtime errors in the program. So the example that I'm going to use for this one is in game control, right here.